Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You already know how I start this independent music. And this morning I got Ruga, YN, and we'll be right back right after this.
He letting his pants sag, he acting bad, he starting to wear a mask. He turned into a YN. His parents sad cause they know the innocent little boy that they had, then turned into a YN. I done seen so many crash and hit that county and look sad. Now you thinking about the ifs as a YN. But I blame us, so it's only right for us to step up. We gotta be there for them YNs. See, Greg was the nigga that Trey looked up to in the hood. Everyone had love for Greg, cause he grew up in that hood. See, Greg was a hustler on that corner where he stood. And Trey wondered why he always had that wish a nigga would look. But Trey don't know them boys at war. Nah, Trey don't know they try and pull up and change the score. Greg ain't see that black van slide the door. They got the blowing, Greg shot 4, they shot more. Greg hit, Trey just watching him bleeding. Greg fighting from that bright light, but he starting to see it. But Trey ain't never seen no shit like this to believe it. Then Greg took that deep breath, then stopped breathing. Then Trey picked up his gun, he got that empty feeling now. Cause he just watched his homie take his last breath on the ground. And the nigga that shot Greg shot him, now he down. Then Trey walked up on him and put one in his crown. Now Trey been having nightmares, waking up to cold sweats. No, he ain't never took a soul, his stomach feeling sick. Mama see, this ain't really something that she could fix. It's gonna take a father, but he left when he was 6. Greg funeral today, he on his way to the wake. And seeing him in that casket really made him feel away. Then Greg homie whisper and say, you know one of them got away. Then Trey grabbed that same gun, yeah the same one from that day. Now he riding, lurking, searching for that other nigga. He caught the nigga and tried to off the nigga and hit the other nigga. Now he got beef with some other niggas. Now word going around that if they catch Trey, they gon' kill him. But Trey don't know the camera seen him when that shit happened with Greg. He on the news and all these thoughts they just running through his head. And he can't even go home, his crib got raided by the feds. Had nobody to depend on, no choice so he fled. Trey skipped town. He met a lady named Trisha. Fast forward 2 years, he got a family in the picture. Now it's December, she say her brother flying in for Christmas. He on family time, he smiled and said, I can't wait to meet him. Her brother landed, he just called and said, I touched the city. He say, sis, I'm at the airport, can you come and get me? She say, bro, I'm on the way to come and get you. Then he walked through the door, and it's that other nigga. He letting his pants sag, he acting bad, he starting to wear a mask. He turned into a YN. His parents sad cause they know the innocent little boy that they had, then turned into a YN. I done seen so many crash and hit that county and look sad. Now you thinking about the ifs as a YN. But I blame us, so it's only right for us to step up. We gotta be there for them YNs.
That was Ruga, YN. I wanna the first thing I got for y'all this morning is a gun ordinance. It will be in front of the city council today in Minneapolis. Uh, I do believe that'll be something that people need to watch and pay attention to. Uh, and I mean that sincerely. I don't mean that as in like trying to talk shit or any of that. So I just want to like the first thing that I want to do is this morning is I want to tell a little. I shouldn't say it's little, um, but I want to talk to you about a situation that happened a few years ago. And today we try to rewrite history. And honestly, that is not the way to go because you're not telling people the truth. We're not giving them the nitty gritty, or we're not talking about real things that happen to real people. If you're not telling people the truth, um, we have a serious issue with that. People would rather tell narratives than tell people the truth. So I want to start off with I posted this yesterday and I said it's wild how organizations line up behind somebody without doing basic due diligence. No background check on character, no real look at the history, just emotion and headlines. You have a man in Cortez Rice who wasn't present, wasn't stepping up as a father when it actually mattered, especially not in the weeks leading up, not when people were literally telling him, you need to reach out to your son. But once tragedy hits, now everybody's ready to rally and rewrite the story like none of that existed. At some point, we got to stop letting narratives override truth. Accountability just can't be for systems, police, or politicians. It has to apply for individuals too. Standards don't mean anything if they only show up when it's convenient. So the real question is, when do we start expecting consistency? When do we start demanding that people live by the same moral code they preach before the spotlight hits, not after? And that's so I wanted to talk about that. And and it's crazy to me is like people really don't give a fuck about the truth. They only care about uh I don't know, they just stand up for anything. And the one thing that really fucks me up about this whole situation, right? Uh is like, you know, no disrespect, rest in peace, Jamari. And I really, 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 and I really prayed about this, right? Uh, because there's maybe just some things that just need to stay in the dark, right? But how do we get change without bringing those things to the light? Um, so I remember very clearly the time that Jamari Rice was killed. I remember calling up to the Hennepin County Jail and telling Cortez, uh, and I told him weeks before Jamari was killed, man, reach out to him. Make sure that that he's loved. Make sure that he is being taken care of. Because the things that I'm seeing in the streets and that I'm hearing is you need to reach out to him. He never did. Never did. Uh, and it's just crazy as hell to me how we in Minnesota will uplift crooks, scammers, adulterers, rapists. And I really truly don't understand that. I thought this was, and this is the craziest thing to me because when I started to drift away from Cortez, he was locked up. And one of the things that steered me away was he wanted me and Tanya, I think her name is Tanya, to delete some, I don't know, yeah, videos and all these things because they didn't want Bianca to see him. So did that. As I started to go, I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Uh, and I will take my accountability. I was doing things out of loyalty and stupidity because I believed in just, anything. And I think that truly is part of the problem. We don't hold people accountable. We want accountability from politicians. We want it from the police, but we don't want it for ourselves, for our communities. And then we wonder why our community is the way that they are. It's because if we just have bullshit at the top who just allow things that are unethical, how do we expect people that they work with to be ethical? Like where's the ethics? Where's the morals, the values? Because I really truly feel like that Democratic Party, BLM, NAACP, they don't have any. That's not no conspiracy theory. That's just the truth. And this whole time we have been played, we have been found out so much bullshit about uh, a movement that to some people really meant something. It wasn't just, oh, I just want to get off the couch and get my little 15 minutes of fame. No, motherfuckers wanted to make real change. That's why I authored the proclamation to make racism a public health crisis, rental licensing code, this strategic racial equity action plan. I really wanted to be a part of doing something. I just didn't want to talk about it. I don't. I was because I'm tired of talking, and this was years ago. This isn't just like last year. This is years ago, and I really do feel like it's time that we have conversations about accountability. Because if we don't, we're going to become extinct. If people don't see that you have immigrants and we're allowing these people into city councils, we're allowing immigrants into becoming school boards, county commissioners. Like, how can we expect the American way of life if we have people that are not from here governing it? That doesn't make any sense. Like, how can we expect American values, American the way that we do the right way, and they can't assimilate to that? I don't even know why the hell I'm saying that word assimilate, but um, that's what the politicians use. Like they want them to assimilate to American way because I do believe that if you look in other countries, uh, they don't bend and fold and all that shit for immigrants. Most of them put their residents, their constituents first. And I don't understand why America is like that. I truly don't get how or even why that America feels the way that they do. Uh, yeah, I don't get it because I don't see China or Russia, Ukraine. I don't see none of Israel. I don't see none of them having no American Congress members or Parliament, whatever the fuck they got up there over there. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't be doing none of that shit. So why is it that in America we're so gung ho on that shit? I truly don't understand that shit. But yeah, one of the first things that I want to talk about this morning is, and I think this will be a hot topic for a lot of uh, this whole year. Really, it should be a. I don't even take that off. Whoops. I don't know. I'm on why the motherfuckers be messaging me with that home shit. Listen, man, keep that old scamming ass bullshit somewhere else. Because I don't get it. But you're gonna see this a lot, I believe, this year, and that is, gun ordinances, anything to do with guns, because you already know at the state level, at the legislature, it's not going to be passable. It's not, maybe in the Senate, but not in the House, because that is tied. And in the Senate, the Democrats do have a 1 vote lead. It's 34-33. So I know that there was legislation and other things to make it a little bit more even, or to make it a little bit more fair. I'm new to this shit. I'm not nobody that's. I don't have no political science degrees or no. Everything that I've learned about this is uh, me learning and others showing me where to go to look for things. So you're gonna see this in Minneapolis today. There's a vote about a gun ordinance, and Edina, I guess, has already done it. So it doesn't shock me. It doesn't. Just because I know how the Twin Cities is when it comes to progressiveness, them being socialist. It's not about the Democratic farmers and labor. No, it's not about that anymore. They're dirty fucking liars. Because that's all you see. So I want to get into about this gun ordinance, and I'll be right back.
On Thursday, the Minneapolis City Council will vote on a new gun control ordinance.
Today, the Committee of the Whole voted unanimously to pass the measure to full council. Fox 9's Karen Scullin joining us live now with what's in it and whether or not it's enforceable. Karen?
Well, first off, no, it's not really enforceable, even if they pass it. But Minneapolis is doing what a lot of cities have done, like St. Paul, and passed a gun control measure that maybe one day will be enforceable. And they're also trying to send a message. Now, the proposed ordinance would ban assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, and ghost guns. It also has more restrictions on public carrying and safe storage, which includes stricter requirements for reporting lost or stolen firearms and mandatory safe storage. There was a public hearing today that had all but one in support of the ordinance, many of them parents of the Annunciation School students who are still struggling to cope with the shooting. But we also heard from a man who was shot himself 4 times. He was shot 4 times at a birthday party, but surprisingly lived. But he is still haunted by what happened.
Moments of uncertainty with the fear of being shot that could happen on a daily basis. I battle the fear of a shooting happening over and over again, and sometimes it gets so bad that it's even hard to step out of my car or leave my home. My hope today is that this ordinance can be put in place to help prevent what happened to me from happening to other young children in our future.
This is a baby step to what? Nothing. This isn't gun violence, it's people violence. And you got to do something about people. Prison is a good start.
Also today at committee, Minneapolis police presented their own after-action review of the Davis Maturi case, the man who was shot after a long dispute with his neighbor. The chief saying today Maturi never should have been shot, and they are making some changes, like improving technology to make sure all officers are aware of the history of a situation, and they're also establishing a neighbor-to-neighbor mediation pilot program. Now, on the gun control issue, it will be voted on by full council this coming Thursday. But again, not a lot of weight to the measure, as again, state law will supersede any city ordinances. But again, they are just also sending a message. We're live in Minneapolis. Karen Scullin, Fox.
What message is it? Because when it comes to fraud, when it comes to anything that is anything about fairness, I mean, I just look at what happened with Walls when he pardoned so dude wouldn't get deported. And that's like a big talk right now in Minnesota. And it's crazy to me that we have lawmakers who care more about immigrants and not the Americans that and it shouldn't even be like that. That's the whole crazy part that I don't understand. Is like people like Philip Vance, people like Timothy Magruder, so many other people, and it's like Jermaine Ferguson. But we're sitting here pardoning somebody to help them out because of the shit they did wrong. Why are we rewarding that? That's what I truly do not understand. Is like, why are we rewarding that? Why are we rewarding bad behavior? I really do feel like that is something that needs to be corrected. And in Minnesota, we need to stop rewarding bad behavior, bad actors. Because what are we doing? Like, I truly don't understand of like how they're still going through legislation and we haven't even been eradicated the fraud yet. How are you still eradicating money? Like, I don't even get that. Like, how are we? This is the one thing that I will not understand about politics. Why are we not trying to stop the fraud so people who are supposed to be getting these programs aren't being left behind? I don't know. You know, that's the one thing that I keep on thinking about is like, how do we get rid of this fraud? And I've been thinking about something the last couple of days, right? Because I know we're in session. But to me, I feel like we need the exact technical bottleneck that's causing so much frustration right now. Because the reality is that while the state is debating new laws and guardrails, the actual digital plumbing, the IT infrastructure is still largely siloed, which is exactly how large scale fraud often slips through the cracks. See, and now I don't hear enough about how do we get rid of the problem, right? Because one of the problems is that we have a silo problem, right? Especially when it comes to our social services and like childcare, like child care subsidies, Medicaid, and even food assistance run on separate legacy databases. And to me, the gap is because these systems don't talk to each other in real time. A single person or entity can theoretically collect benefits from multiple programs using slightly different information, and the system won't flag it until a manual audit happens months later. Because there has been recent legislative discussions. There was actually a pushback in April of 2026 that has emphasized creating universal ID numbers for providers and recipients. The goal is to make sure that if a red flag appears in one program, it instantly alerts the others. Um, and to me, this shouldn't be a hard argument, guardrails versus infrastructure. There is a growing consensus that an office of the Inspector General, the OIG, is just a watchdog after the fact, whereas IT modernization is the fence that prevents the theft in the first place. The conflict, some lawmakers are wary of spending the hundreds of millions required for a full IT overhaul because past state projects like the MN-LARS vehicle registration system were seen as expensive failures. But to me, I feel like the cost of those delays, because when you go back into, I think it was April 21st, 2026, a coalition of Minnesota health plans and counties sent a letter to the legislator essentially saying, we can't wait anymore. They argue that outdated tech is making it impossible to verify eligibility accurately, which hurts both the budget and the people who would actually need help. Um, and then I want to talk about just even the recent progress, right? Or should I say lack thereof. Failed amendments. Just last week, late April 2026, a specific amendment to add 15 million for technology modernization to the Inspector General bill actually failed to get enough support. Critics argued it wasn't a comprehensive enough plan, while supporters were frustrated that the guardrails bill was proceeding without the necessary tech tools to back it up. And I know that Governor Walz was talking about a centralization kind of plan, because I do remember that, like in prison, they all had their own canteen, right? Didn't matter if like you were in like I was in Moose Lake or like Lionel, you could go daily. Then they centralized it where all the canteen now is at like Oak Park Heights, and then everybody got the same um, products. There wasn't a place that was getting anything different. So he has proposed a massive shift to move eligibility determinations from individual counties to a single state run entity by 2028. The hope is that a centralized system will finally force the IT infrastructure to be unified, but that is still years away. The bottom line is the state is effectively hiring more security guards, the OIG, while the security cameras, the IT systems, are still broken or disconnected. Until the data flows seamlessly between agencies, the state will likely remain in a catch-up mode rather than a prevention mode. And I think people really honestly need to take a look at that. It's like, are we really in catch-up mode? And we really should be in prevention mode. I mean, that's something that we really need to ask each other. Because even there's still, what's crazy is this next story that I have. They're up at the state capitol asking for more money because the food shelves are stalling. So if we would have done something about all the money that were supposedly used to feed kids on Feeding Our Future, and y'all are still up here asking for money to fund other things, why not take all that the fraud money that was given back or that we have taken back and put it to that. Like, what happened to those ideas? And I really do feel like we pay these people so much and we get so little. Isn't that um, taxation without representation? Because we don't never get what really helps us. We always get a band-aid. Always a band. It's always a handout. So, because even when you look at this, when it comes to the food shelves, it's like, are we really, really asking for more money? And then they always talk about, well, it was because of this, it was because of that. Is that really helping us? Instead of looking at solutions, we're always just doing band-aids. We're always doing band-aids. And them band-aids aren't even helping because they're riddled with fraud. So let me get into this about the food shelves in Minnesota and how they're kind of stalling when it comes to filling their shelves.
Hunger also means fighting for funding at the Capitol. Minnesota's Hunger Relief Network is facing a possible cut from recent years. Fox 9's Capitol reporter Corin Hoggard is there live tonight. And so, Corin, they took their work to the legislature. So what's happening there?
Yeah, Kelsey, they did kind of a combination press conference and food packing event on the steps of the Capitol this morning. And so they loaded up a few pallets with food boxes that'll now go out to some of the food shelves all across the state and hopefully help them keep up with an even bigger need this year. The state's food banks and food shelves have set new records for the number of people served for each of the last 4 years. And they're now giving out more than twice as much food as they did just a few years ago in 2021.
Our Hunger Relief Network is strained. Food banks are moving hundreds of millions of pounds into the community, and food shelves are supporting over 9 million visits each year.
So, Corin, what is the funding situation right now? And if they don't get what they're asking for, what kind of impacts are they expecting?
Yeah, Kelsey, that is really the $10 million question here. These food banks and food shelves usually get almost all of their funding from donors, but for the last several years, the state has been kicking in cash. This year, however, about half of that funding is still up in the air as this session is really starting to wind down.
It basically means less food for people who need it, and that is something that's just not acceptable to most people that I know.
So what is the outlook for their funding, and is it in the mix for supplemental spending this year?
Yeah, so, these folks from the leaders of the food banks and the food shelves, they came here today advocating for a bill that would send $10 million to regional food banks, and then it would kind of spread out from there to all the food shelves. This is a bill that's already passed as part of a bigger bill over here in the Senate. In the House, it has 34 authors, bipartisan support, but it has stalled in the House. And so these leaders have spent all day here, some of them, just trying to advocate for their position, trying to get that bill across the finish line, at least making sure it's part of these final negotiations at the end of this session.
All right, we'll see if it makes the cut. Thanks, Corin.
I still cannot understand how there is bipartisan support to cough up more money, and we haven't even eradicated the fraud yet. We haven't even got rid of it. We haven't even done IT modernization to keep up with all these programs. I just don't, until, I'm going to be honest, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, that's not right. Well, the money that was stolen, I'm going to say this. If they really thought there was $9 billion, right, in fraud, why are we sitting here legislating new laws just so they can be able to be rampant with fraud? I don't understand that. That to me is wild, and to me is the definition of crazy. Because if you do something over and over and over again, what is the definition? Crazy. That's what I seriously cannot understand. Of like, how do we get better? Because we're not holding each other accountable. We're not attempting to do what's right, because I can tell you right now, when it comes to a lot of the people that are on the left, their morals are messed up. They have no values. They don't have it. And you can tell by these things with, like, when it comes to the ethic committee, like, we're sitting here having people smoke weed, get drunk, and yet still legislate Minnesota. That's fucking wild. And we're not asking questions. We either are bitches, cowards, or we really don't give a fuck. And I can understand why our state is the way that it is, because it's crazy to me. It's like, wow, we really do not care. Even when it comes to this next story that I want to talk about, if people don't know, there is a lawsuit, whistleblower lawsuit, that was just filed. Um, the assistant police chief at the state fair is suing Ramsey County Sheriff Bob Fletcher, and also the state fair, and about retaliation. Um, this to me is, a lot of shit came out, and it's crazy how you already see that the state fair isn't backing their guy up because they thought there was no violations. But when you look at the video, it does tell you a whole different other story. So I'm not understanding where this could possibly go. I know there is a lot when it comes in the lawsuit. There are some things. So it'll just be, I guess, discovery, or even when they give an answer to this lawsuit, it will be interesting to see.
An officer is accusing the sheriff of bad behavior at the state fair. But as Reg Chapman reports, the sheriff thinks there are ulterior motives behind the new lawsuit.
Michael Coffey, a Cottage Grove officer who has worked as the assistant chief at the state fair since 2022, filed the whistleblower lawsuit. The lawsuit claims this video shows Ramsey County Sheriff Bob Fletcher deploying pepper spray to the face of a restrained man before pointing the canister at the surrounding crowd.
Officers or deputies order you to do something or stop doing something and you don't. Pepper spray is really low on the force continuum, where an officer's presence is the lowest and deadly force is the highest, and it goes like this. So pepper spray is down here.
Joe Dutton is a use of force expert who has testified in both state and federal court. He is also an instructor in the use of pepper spray. He looked at the video for WCCO.
All I see is somebody that got taken to the ground, and at one point here, somebody sprayed him because you can see he's holding his face, which is not excessive force.
In the lawsuit, Coffey claims the use of pepper spray against people who had not broken the law was unlawful excessive force. He reported it to the chief of the state fair police, who claimed he did not see any excessive force violations. Weeks later, he spoke with an FBI agent and reported what he believed were violations of the law, according to the lawsuit. It also alleges Fletcher demanded Coffey be terminated, or the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office would no longer help provide security for the state fair. In a statement, the sheriff called the accusations false and claimed the lawsuit is motivated by his desire to be the next police chief for the state fair. Reg Chapman, WCCO News.
In a statement, the state fair said their actions were entirely proper and plans to defend itself in the legal proceeding.
This to me is really peculiar, because you have the state fair coming out and defending Bob Fletcher. Wild as hell to me. So now you see why there's a lawsuit, and there definitely needs to be. I think when shit comes out in discovery, people will see more of the, because right now all you see is one side of the story. So when you do see both sides of it, and that's what I don't get either, is because we all look at things differently. Because maybe they don't see excessive force, but us citizens do. I think there needs to be some kind of a little more understanding, because, I even think back to Derek Chauvin, and, I see a lot of things about, oh, free Derek, this, that, and it's like, George Floyd was not his only victim. Can we talk about this MRT? Like, can we actually talk about how the city of Minneapolis has paid out so much money on one cop And then not only that, that they're literally, they're not defunding themselves vocally out loud, but when you look at the way that overtime is paid out, or we're not going to be able to afford that shit. And I really do hope that people wake up. I really do hope people wake up. And I'm not talking about none of these old niggas talking about they are woke because they got some kind of fucking college degree or something. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that are out in the streets that are kind of know what's going on, because I can tell you right now, it shouldn't really matter if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican. You should be mad about the fraud, and how, to be honest, both parties are pussyfooting around it. To be honest, there ain't no one party who is more at blame, because to me, they're both. It's not just one, because to me, they're Republicans and Democrats are two sides of the same coin. One is heads and the other one's tails. So they're both snakes. It just depends on what they're fighting for. Because it's never for the people. So at one time, you're probably going to have snakes as Democrats, and other times you're going to have them as rats. Same thing as when it comes to Republicans. Because I can tell you right now, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. And that's what city councils vote on. They don't vote on feelings, because that's not going to make sure that a city is funded. It's not going to make sure that a city has what it needs. So they're going to go with what they can prove, what they can show. That's why in these NDAs, that's the one crazy thing to me, right? Is if you opened up a lot of these NDAs with the police and the families, it'd be so wild how they won't admit fault. But when you look at some of this shit, they should have took fault. But since they paid out 27 million or 20 million or 3.5, they don't feel like it was their fault. They're paying just for it to go away. That's all they're doing. They're paying for it to go away. Because once you take that payment, you can't talk about certain shit. You can't talk about the case. That's why when you see these families get money, and I'm not speaking nothing badly about the families, right? But when the families have the settlements, you don't hear a person's name as much as you did when you're fighting for justice. I mean, I think about Fred Cox, no disrespect, but when they got that settlement, you didn't hear Fred's name as much anymore as you once did. And that's even the same way with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. You don't hear the names as much as you should, because first of all, they can't talk about shit like that. So how are we supposed to move forward when everybody's just crooked to some degree? And to me, it all depends on your morals and values, your ethics. And I really do feel like we have to be in a better place as people, because the values and the morals that are being held right now are tearing America apart. And is it the same morals and values that a lot of Minnesotans grew up with? Because when I grew up, everybody looked out for each other. I had a neighborhood grandma. And if I wasn't getting a whooping from her, I was definitely getting one from my parents. I just really do feel like that village feeling is gone. And it's gone because we have too many people who take advantage of it. And then when others try to hold them accountable, it's not, this is the one crazy thing, right? I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Y'all took the same pain when it came to these Somalians or these immigrants. They found the loopholes. I'm not mad at y'all. They found the loopholes. But now that y'all did things that were unethical, against the law, to get ahead, to make sure that you're self-made men, that, I'm nobody's my boss. What do you mean nobody's your boss? Can't do what the fuck you want. You're getting money from the state, so you can't talk about shit that that people need you to talk about, because if you look at what's happening right now, there's certain things that you don't hear from the Democrats, especially when it comes to the fraud. You don't hear much about that shit no more. Not like when Feeding Our Future was really out here in the news. You don't hear about all the connections, even with the church that bought that gas station and they're being sued. So that really makes you wonder, like, look at the liquor store, that Merwin's. Look at Merwin's. It was bought by a violence interruption group to profit off of making mayhem in our city. Make that shit make sense. Make that shit, because I can tell you like this, there still be motherfuckers over selling drugs in them areas. You don't see the we push for peace because, first of all, they got in too much bullshit. Too much bullshit. Same thing with 21 Days of Peace. Oh, we're not doing anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. Same thing with Bobby fucking Whole Champion coming out here on the news and talk about, that's because we know there's no fraud. It's like, who believes that shit? That you got them niggas over north sucking your dick so much that they believe that shit. They believe that shit. That's why I sit here and look at Eliza Darris, Jonathan Mason, Cortez Rice. I look at a lot. Y'all niggas be taking it up their ass because there should be no way the fucking city looks like this. But then I understand it. You niggas are paid. That's why we don't get no real justice and no accountability. Because the same people that are CEOs, that call themselves executive directors, are crooks. The only thing different is they have a title. That's the only thing different. I truly don't understand this. I wanted to get into this a little bit. Yesterday, or I think it was Tuesday, the last Waste and Fraud Oversight Committee hearing went on. So they talked about how they feel like if it was a success or did it was really kind of nothing. I mean, did we really spotlight the main shit that we need to? No, I don't feel like we did. Did we make enough change or guardrails or even oversight from this? No, I think a lot of it was political theater. I think a lot of, I'm not saying about like Faye Bernstein or even David Hodge or, some of the other people that were testifiers. What I'm talking about is I don't really fully believe we have legislators that want to eradicate it is because they benefit from it. They benefit from the broken system. So why would they attempt to change it if they're getting paid from it? That's the one thing that I really, truly, I want people to think about is how do you expect change if the people keep on doing the same shit over and over and over and over again? Isn't that the definition of crazy, insane? Like, yeah, so let me get into this story right here.
An oversight committee in the Minnesota House launched with big promises to fight fraud in state government. Lawmakers passed new safeguards last year to protect taxpayer dollars, with more proposals still in the works this year. But has the fraud committee delivered on its mission? As Tom Hauser reports, Republicans and Democrats see it very differently.
It has been an eventful 2 years.
Unless it's reauthorized next year, this meeting on Tuesday might be the last for the House Fraud and State Agency Oversight Committee. Next week, the committee will issue a report about what it accomplished over 2 years. This was the goal of the committee, as stated at the first meeting in early 2025.
The mission of this committee is to ensure that taxpayer money is not going to the greedy, but is going to serve the needy.
Did you meet the goals and the mission that you had for this committee?
Absolutely. From my first press conference, we said the goals of the committee were to expose fraud, to pass legislation that strengthened internal controls, and to provide a portal for whistleblowers and people to report fraud. And all three of those we have met in spades.
The committee did highlight fraud and give whistleblowers a forum, but the committee passed only one minor bill over 24 meetings. This from a committee that was initially billed as a game changer. Did the committee end up being a game changer?
No.
Representative Dave Pinto is the DFL lead on the committee.
The topic is really important. Unfortunately, the Fraud Prevention Committee, had very little impact on preventing fraud this session.
The committee did hear multiple times from the legislative auditor, whistleblowers, and Department of Human Services leaders. A lot of fraud legislation is moving through the legislature, but not through the Fraud Committee.
None of that legislation not only passed through the committee, but even was impacted by the work of the committee.
But Chairwoman Robbins says many members of the committee have authored key fraud legislation heard in other committees.
All the committee members are very engaged in the legislation that has passed last year and this year, but it doesn't really go through the Oversight Committee because that's not our function.
Whether the committee will continue to function next year is unclear. Assuming they don't end in another historic tie, either Republicans or Democrats will have to decide whether it's worthwhile keeping the committee going. At the state capitol, Tom Hauser.
Yeah. So there is mixed reviews on it. And there should be. I think that's honest. There should be questions should arise. Was that effective? And I believe that what we're seeing, it wasn't. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, give y'all sugar when it was really, it wasn't. It was a lot of bullshit. Because we didn't see anything that really we already didn't know about. Even when it came to, besides the shit with Ilhan Omar, I didn't see them want to ask questions to Mayor Frey, Jamal Osman, Omar Fatah, and these people are actually, elected politicians as well. And because I feel like they didn't have the subpoena power, that was one of the things that was really fucked up. So I do believe that this committee could have been more effective if I believe that they were allowed to be able to do things. And because they had that power sharing agreement back in 2025, that made sure that they wouldn't have any power or even teeth in it, it was just really going to be all for show. And I really hate that because, I'm somebody that 4 years ago, I talked to the Republicans at the Capitol. I told them how fraud was going on with the churches and how this is the crazy thing that I don't understand, because even when people were alerting Republicans, you still had shit that was getting through the legislature to make sure that these people were paid. That's one thing that I can't understand is like the Republicans sat on their hands as well because y'all had the information. The problem is that the messengers, that's what it was. It was the messengers. It wasn't the message. Because we all see that shit now. They want to hype up Nick Shirley. But when you really think about it, like even the things that Nick Shirley pointed out there, that shit was, I won't say about the Somalis, but that shit was really pointed out back in 2022 when we told you guys about the ghost companies and how people were doing business as DBAs. Y'all, because it was in the Black community. It was in the Black community. That's why they didn't really give a fuck. But when it came down to the Somalians, they could use it as political gas fire. Let's be honest. They could use it as political gas fire. Right? Because even here you talk about the security package, right? It says that the Republicans divided. Republicans repeatedly argued that the House should act on school safety legislation before prioritizing security for lawmakers. I cannot support spending $40 million on our own safety when we haven't committed a dime to school safety, GOP Rep Jimmy Gordon said during Wednesday's floor session. I mean, that is true. Why are you so more worried about yourselves and not the future generations that really matter? Not saying y'all don't matter, but we should do any and everything to protect our future, especially our future generations. Because you know what the problem is that our education system is building the people that like Vance Bolter, the same people that were trying to eradicate they're coming for y'all. There's no and ifs or buts about it. And you can see that why a lot of people are retiring and trying to get out of the legislature, because there's a lot that comes with it. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. Get your ass out the kitchen if you can't take the heat. And I truly do believe there's a lot of lawmakers that can't take that heat. They can't. That's why you see them in their little dumbass areas. Because, yeah. Even here's something about Lugar. Amy bragged about Minnesota exports in the Ukraine war. Was it the grain cartel money laundering? Ellen Goldberg Lugar. There's so many connections. It'd be really tripping me out. Like, what do y'all really care about? Do you care about clout making difference? And this is why, again, I'm going to say, do we need to be ethical to go back into our, back to the norms of what that's what I truly believe of. Like, we need to, see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Yeah, the real question shaping American politics in 2026. Do we restore the old norms by being ethical? Or do we fight fire with fire to prevent extinction? Because there's only so much that you can keep on getting slapped and turning the other cheek before you finally say enough is enough. What is it finally going to take for people? Because I truly don't, I don't get it. I'm not saying that. Actually, I am saying that. I don't give a fuck no more. January 6th, I hope to God that we see something completely different than January 6th, because that's what I feel like it's going to take. It's going to take American citizens to stand up. That's the same reason why we had the American Revolution, because enough was enough. People got tired. The Boston Tea Party. You had people were uprising because they were tired. That was the whole thing with George Floyd, right? I think people were it wasn't about facts. I can definitely say that, because when you look at the facts, when you look at the case and you read about it and you read the court transcripts and you're reading even some of the jurors that were, and it's like, was that really justice? Derek Chauvin should be behind bars. There's no disagreement there. But did we really get justice? Because I can tell you right now is that the Minneapolis Police Department hasn't changed. They talk that talk, but they don't walk that shit, because you still have them fucking over the city of Minneapolis. Still. And the crazy thing is, like, how can you sit here and stick up for police when all they're trying to do is get into your pockets? Just get into your pockets. You have more police officers, and I'm not saying they don't deserve it. You have a lot of them making 70, 80, 100, 200, 300,000 dollars a month. I mean, not a month, a year. I know families that don't even make what these lawmakers make for being part-time representatives and senators. $58,000. But see, the add-on bonus to that is they can rent an apartment. I think if it's more than 75 miles, I believe it is. They get it per diem. These motherfuckers make more than what the average person who works at Quick Trip or Walmart. And you guys say that you're for the little people? Really? When most of y'all who say you're working for the little people make $100,000 salaries, while the people get paid peanuts. So should people be mad? Shouldn't we want to stand up to injustices, to wrongs being done in our communities? That's how I can tell that people don't stand up for something. They stand up for anything, because when it's time to stand up for something, they're not there. People are not there. And I will truly never understand it. Yeah, because a lot of it is bullshit. A lot of it is bullshit that we should be calling out, that we should be, trying to hold others accountable. And we don't do that. There's so much fuck shit going on in Minnesota right now. And I truly do understand why our state is like this in such disarray, because our politicians, our lawmakers are in disarray. You can't expect peace and tranquility when it's chaos at the top. And what I mean by that is you look at city councils, you look at state legislators, you look at county commissioners. All this shit is in a disarray. Nobody is, to be honest, when you look at it, people aren't really doing what the people want. They're not doing what the people want. They're doing what corporations want. That's why you're not seeing them get rid of NDAs when it comes to these data centers. You don't see them getting rid of that. So I'm going to say it again. How do you remain ethical or with your morals and values when the people that is on the other side that you're supposed to be nonpartisan with, that you're supposed to be our bipartisan, are already fucked up? They believe that men should be in girls' sports. How is that fair? How are we supposed to ethically have a conversation when you're already so far gone? There is no more meeting, no anywhere trying to meet in the middle, because it's either our way or no way. That's what it comes down to. It's either the Democratic way or it's going to be no way. And that's exactly entirely how it's been for the last 30, 40 years in Minnesota. We've had maybe, I think Pawlenty was the last Republican governor, and that was like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm not saying we need to go red, but I truly do believe if we want to get Minnesota back to at least a semi-okay state, is to do that. It's to go red. And I see the pushes from Chicago flips red or Philadelphia flips red. And I see those people like Zoe or, I can't pronounce his last name in Philly, but, and then I think it's sad when I see, in other states, and I look up to those people, to see them arguing or fighting. And is that what we're really here for? We're supposed to be here for a mission, because I understand it's a marathon, and that marathon is going to continue regardless, because we're going on. Malcolm been dead, MLK, Fred Hampton, the move bombing back in 85, Rodney King. But there's always something. So how is it? I'm telling you right now, by 2030, something's going to happen. If you're not watching this hantavirus shit, start watching. Because now they're saying 3 cases or something. I think it was like Arizona, California, and maybe Georgia. Yeah, so motherfuckers better be watching this shit. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of weird shit is about to go on. And you're going to see something like how we've seen with Floyd. You're going to see something. And I think it's going to be bigger. Definitely will be, I won't say badder, but definitely will get people to rise up and get off that couch again, because I don't see, and that's the whole thing that I really do feel like when it comes back to, the generations. And I do feel like over the years we had, especially when it came to our parents or grandparents, they were, I'm not gonna say like scared of the movement. Yeah, I think they were more scared of the government because they could see what it could do. It seen what it did to Malcolm. It seen what it did to MLK. It seen what it did to Fred Hampton. And then we even have the move bombing. Black Wall Street. So, I mean, I do understand it. And then I even look at some of my family members. I had an uncle that was executed not once, but twice. Down in Louisiana, I have had family that was sugarcane farmers, but had their land stolen. And it's like, how are we as people, and I'm not just meaning people, but Black people, how are we supposed to get some type of justice when the things that we're sitting here and we want to have conversations about, they don't want to have conversations because it feels like it doesn't help them. So I really don't understand it. What, Charlotte mayor? What? Who was the Charlotte mayor? Firearms and victims and eviction notices. I don't know. That shit's gonna be long. I know the hentai virus motherfuckers talking about. See, enforcement surge. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Enforcement surge, over 1,000 arrests. Rock food stamp fraud crackdown. Hantavirus. Here goes Minneapolis talking about firearms and evictions. There'll be some shit going on today, I see. A modern cult. Yeah, I don't get that shit. But you know what? I am kind of interested in that, so I will. Because I do see this sometimes.
We're gonna give y'all a panorama. We in the middle of the river, man. I'm gonna teach you how to become pure, get away from negative-ass people. The key is to isolate yourself. Remember, this journey is your own.
He was a charismatic leader, promising his followers on YouTube heaven on earth.
What he had for the Black community was a utopia. He would make it look good online.
Eligio Bishop, aka Nature Boy, a rising social media star, the head of a group he called Carbon Nation.
Free flag shoot! Who are we? Carbon Nation!
Which seemingly focused on living in harmony with the natural world.
Costa Rica is one of the most beautiful and green places that you could live. We don't need to be violent. We don't need to be angry. All we need to do is become one with nature.
But this idyllic community quickly descended into something more sinister, a cult.
There was no autonomy there. It was do as I say or leave.
Now, the cult, operating in plain sight, unveiled in a 4-part docuseries on Hulu, The Cult of Nature Boy. The cult story, told by first-hand accounts of former members, sharing their shocking allegations of abuse.
He wanted to break me in front of everybody so that he can win respect.
And the harrowing videos live-streamed from inside the cult.
To see who he became, it's like night and day. It's two different people.
We are living out here for you. You can't destroy me. They know that. I'm the Avatar. I'm the truth. I'm God. I'm your nightmare.
I would watch him all the time.
Chantel Coleman is a YouTuber and self-styled internet detective.
I'm gonna show you how EJ is cultivating the land.
She began documenting and archiving Bishop's posts.
I saw the coercive control tactics that were happening, and I decided to start archiving and recording some of the most kind of disturbing clips that I came across.
You have to separate yourself from your own family. Attachments have been given to you that you must overcome. I'm your family.
Bishop, persuading his followers to leave their own countries and eventually controlling every aspect of their lives. From what they ate.
Nature Boy always eats first. We could never accept our food before him or our drinks.
To their finances.
Nature Boy wanted complete control over what goes on in that group's surroundings, and he wanted control over the women.
I would never put a woman in a man's place. A man is for power, manpower, manpower.
The violence shown online escalating from verbal.
I'm your pimp. I'm your God. Get on your knees, bitch.
To physical.
They began to have incidents on camera. He had a huge following on Facebook, a big following on Instagram. And so there were a lot of content creators that were covering them.
You're a coach. Plain simple.
Your ass on the phone telling us to put our phone down. What the you talking about?
And then he would allow them to have a relationship, then he would snatch their girl from them.
Or it could possibly turn into a Jim Jones type of affair.
Yo, sit down. Sit down, yo. The baby's in your hand, yo.
These moments were always heavily watched by a ton of people.
Viewers of his live streams grew concerned.
Oh my God. You don't have to bring her down like that. A real man, a real leader can make his point without putting his hands on a woman.
So the audience started contacting the authorities once the abuse started coming to light. Embassy got a ton of calls. They were investigated by the police in Mexico. They ended up leaving. They turned up in a number of different countries in no particular order: Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, and they were deported from nearly each and every one of them. He would utilize each arrest as a propaganda talking point to join the cult and to fight the establishment. They moved to Atlanta. They were in a downward spiral.
Janae was living in Atlanta when she started watching Carbon Nation's videos online.
Before I joined Carbon Nation, I was on my own journey, going out to nature, meditating in nature every day.
She says she was attracted to the group's promise of reconnecting with nature and decided to join after Eligio Bishop and members of Carbon Nation showed up at a kale bar she worked in.
The content that Nature Boy was posting, a lot of it was violent and aggressive. And did any of it concern you before you took that step to join in person?
I saw certain things that were very, alarming, but, he would say, Eligio Bishop, he would say, don't worry about that. When you go through the spiritual journey, you're going to get hit left and right. The demons will come, but it's for you to conquer. When I got there, it was about like 25 people in one house. I had a pounding, ringing, or something telling me, like screaming at me, no. But I ignored it. I think it was maybe 2 to 3 months after joining. You start to see his dark side.
Janae was a member of Carbon Nation for 2 years.
When did your relationship with him turn physical?
It didn't take that long at all, actually. I want to say probably 2 months into it. When I spoke to other women in the cult, they made it seem like it was an honor.
So it was very confusing because I knew I didn't want to be with him, but I started to develop feelings for him. And that was the worst. But yeah, sorry.
As the appearance of abuse proliferated on Nature Boy's social media posts, some of Carbon Nation's online followers went to police.
Is everything okay? Everybody good?
But Bishop wasn't charged.
We couldn't force anybody to come forward. We couldn't force anybody to claim to be a victim, so we would get stuck.
Until Janae found the courage to break free.
I was assaulted that night by the women on his orders.
We're just hearing her getting slapped over and over again. And next thing you know, they're having sex.
When I tried to get out to my Uber, he calls me back inside. And he tells me, just let me come inside of you one last time. I just froze. I didn't know what rape was, because within the cult, rape was a culture. It was so scary. It was so scary. It was so scary. I didn't know what to do, but to just pray to God, the real God.
Nature Boy posted a sex tape that featured her on his Twitter account without her permission, which is a crime. Revenge porn.
We didn't know it was bad. We didn't know any of the sexual assaults were actually sexual assaults. We just went with it.
Janae reporting what happened to the police. That moment captured on body camera.
So my name is Janae. I was recently, or it's got ID, a part of a cult that's known as a sex cult, and they're located here in Atlanta. The person who runs it, his name is Elio Bishop. What happened is he's doing revenge porn, and he has a big presence online. So he's posting part of me and him without my consent.
Police arresting Bishop in April of 2022. The arrest getting coverage in the media.
Put your hands behind your back. He's in cuffs. He's walking to you. I got him.
DeKalb County Police raided a home after a 3-week investigation.
Bishop was taken to the DeKalb County Jail.
With the help of Chantel's archive, prosecutors building a case against the cult leader, ultimately charging him with rape, false imprisonment, and sexual exploitation.
I hope that documentary helps somebody recognize what's happening to them right now in their relationships, in their community, in their churches, in their groups, in their circles, because these dynamics are not just unique to Carbonation and groups like it. They exist everywhere. And so if one person watches this and finds the courage to leave or to speak up, then, I mean, it was worth it, I think.
Our thanks to Stephanie. For much more, including explosive testimony from the trial and what the jury decided, watch the docuseries, The Cult of Nature Boy.
Oh, I'll definitely be watching that. Damn, that's crazy. That just deep inside of the cult life. And because I do have an understanding of, like, in the 70s and 80s, that was like a thing here in America with like cults, and that shit's crazy. I never imagined. I used to think that Amish were a cult, but then I got educated on it. Then I didn't think that anymore. But damn, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine living my life like that, or even thinking that another human being is God, or somebody that is higher than me. Like, yeah, I don't get that shit. Yeah, I truly don't get that. But I see it does happen. You know what I'm saying? It does happen, and people can be mind controlled. People can feel like they're doing the right thing, but in all actuality, it's not the right thing to do. And to be honest, a lot of it, like even inside the movement, you know, BLM. Not gonna say like the DFL, because I never was. I don't feel like I was ever a Democrat. But like BLM, man, the things that, you know, I would hear that people have done rituals, or people have sacrificed their kids, and then you look up some of this shit, and it's like, damn, that's real. The fuck was that about? So, yeah, it drives me to think like these people are actually. When I haven't watched the documentary because I just said that, but I think by watching that, even just that little 10-minute video, there is a lot of similarities that, like with the cult thing I was hearing, that you would see in like BLM, because there has been people that have confronted, like there was one, it was like when BLM at Los Angeles was having their like 10-year anniversary thing or whatever, and there was a lady there saying like, why did you, I think her name is Melinda, I don't know, she's BLM, whatever. But then when you notice that, you really dig into it. That's where like Nakima's name, I found Nakima's name in there, Chantel. So then I go back and you look, because Chantel is actually, her son was found in the attic. They committed suicide in the house, even though they reported him missing. He was in the house the whole time. I'm not trying to speak on people ill to make it like a bad situation. I'm trying to speak on it so that we have an understanding, because the goal of this is accountability. It's not to be hating on people, but there has to be some kind of, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I damn sure I'm not out here committing no crimes, but I damn sure ain't perfect. I've done my dirt. I've done my badness. But I definitely don't want to live like that no more. I don't want to be a part of that. And if it has to be a part of lies or even just a teeny little lie, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to have to get over on anybody or scam anybody. I just want to live my life peacefully and with my morals and values. And that's nothing against anybody else. That's just how I want to live. So I don't care how you do, but if you do bad shit that, like the fentanyl dealers in Rochester, I didn't really get mad. I just took it for what it is, that some of my family didn't want to talk to me because of the shit I was doing online. Listen, I don't give a fuck. If it's right, it's right. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of shit that has gone on that I really have tried to just like, that ain't my situation. I don't even give a fuck no more. But that's not how we move forward. And I do really feel like people don't have an understanding. So I'm gonna get up out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Here is GD Folks Anthem, Two-Tone the Dawn, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well.
Y'all know what the fuck going on, nigga. Two-Tone the Dawn, Lunatic Malik, GD Folks, boss. I'm telling you, man. From South Carolina to Atlanta, to North Carolina. Matter of fact, we worldwide with this shit, nigga. Big GD shit, nigga. Free Larry Hoover.
What you bang? GD4. What you claim? GD4. What you bang? GD4. What you claim? GD4. Been with the oil way before the chain gang. Put in work for my gang. Well organized, we don't gang bang. We brothers of the struggle, man. What you bang? GD4. What you claim? GD4. What you bang? GD4. What you claim? GD4. Been with the oil way before the chain gang. Put in work for my gang. Well organized, we don't gang bang. We brothers of the struggle, man.
Man, you know I'm selling photo, don't act like you ain't know. Yeah, everywhere I go, they throwing race from coast to coast. Yeah, my own team GD, so you know it's fuck the ops. That 40 got an SRT. That's them switches on the Glock. Convicted feeling, but I gotta keep that Glock on me. You a duck, won't close your bill. Heard you snitching in the streets. Big bro came home from the feds, now the GD's having motion. I know the fans watching, taking pictures, I ain't posing. I respect the structure, I get gangster if you test me. Tryna take you on up out of here, so I'm aiming where your neck be. I ain't signing no permission slip, so ain't no nigga checking me. I grew up with gorillas, no orangutans, G.